All right, I think we actually might be live. No more false starts that really pissed everybody off. What's going on, everybody? Randall Thor 19 back again after a week off with the Xbox 2 podcast. And I hope everybody is having a fantastic day. With me, as always, we have Jez Corden of Windows Central. What's going on, buddy?
Hey man, those technical problems, man. Those technical problems.
Those
What's YouTube
technical
like, eh?
problems.
What is it like? But we should ask people like if I sound okay because I've sort of changed my mics around a bit. So
Well, yeah.
before we
So
get into
OBS
it,
wasn't
do I sound
working.
okay?
You sound okay to me. We'll see what the chat says, because I had to change a whole bunch of stuff. OBS was no longer working, so I had to download Streamlabs. Obviously, you guys can see I put up some video. Going forward, if that's what people want. This is Journey to the Savage Planet. We'll get the overlay looking much better. But let us know if everything sounds good, everything looks good. But yeah, I am completely sorry about the tech issues. Out of nowhere, OBS would I'd be streaming on OBS, and YouTube wouldn't be picking it up. And I'd be like, what the heck is going on? Like, why is this, happening? Like, I just want to talk to the people, you know?
I tried streaming from Streamlabs to your stream key, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, and I even gave my stream key, which you're not supposed to do, really, because, people can stream to your channel. Well, they tell you not to be able to do it, right?
Oh.
And I gave it to Jez because, okay, well, if I can't stream to my YouTube, I'm like, well, Jez streams to Mixer all the time because he does a show with Roby One Kenobi of Xbox, and even he did it, and it wasn't working. So I was like, something's wrong, and then last night I kind of spent some time tinkering with it, downloading Streamlabs, getting it, looking right. I recorded an hour gameplay of, Journey to the Savage Planet, and so you guys can have something to look at besides Jez's cat face. And
hey, what's wrong with my cat face? I spent 2 hours drawing that in MS Paint. I'll have you know.
Yeah, I know. So other than that, that's kind of the story behind it all. Last week, Jez had, I think Jez was out, he was busy, and then I had internet problems, and we were going to do something with Cold Eastwood, but I couldn't get it working, and then yesterday, the same thing. But hopefully everything is working well, and show's going to get better as we go, because we're going to have videos, of the games I play during the week. So I want to thank everybody for being here and watching the videos recently. It's been good. I'm really excited about the direction the channel's going, about the podcast, and about gaming and Xbox. It's all good, right, Jez?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
You're growing. You're growing rapidly, man.
You're
gonna be YouTube millionaire soon, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, I don't want to podcast with that amateur Jez."
Yeah, the Jez.
You'll be podcasting with, I don't know, PewDiePie or something.
PewDiePie? I don't know about that. I don't know about that, Jez.
He's the only YouTuber I know.
Hey, well, everybody knows PewDiePie, right?
True that.
So, So how's your 2 weeks been since we haven't done a show in a bit?
Same old. Nothing majorly interesting. Windows Central's currently merging with a bigger company, so it's lots of disruption, so we say. But nothing majorly different out of the ordinary. Just settling in. It's a new year. January went by extremely quickly.
Yeah, it did. It sure did.
Yeah. So it's just kind of, it should be a quiet period. January should be a quiet period, but because of this merger thing, it's not. So, oh well. It is what it is. But I haven't really been playing much outside of, World of Warcraft got a new patch, so gone back to that. I'm also going to be playing Warcraft 3 Reforged this weekend. I don't know if you saw some of the drama about that.
I did. We'll have to talk about that in a few minutes because what the hell's going on with Blizzard, Jez? Your favorite company. They just keep on screwing up.
I don't know what's going on, man. I don't know. Yeah, do you want to talk about that now or in a bit?
Well, I gotta hit up some of the super chats that people have been kind enough to throw our way. We have Dead Captain James. He says it's happening, and indeed it is happening. We have Yosemite Blam saying, make Rand play Banjo-Kazooie for charity. No. Well, I've actually played Banjo-Kazooie for a few minutes. It's definitely better than Pokemon, for sure. Anything and everything on this planet is better than Pokemon. Temtem.
Would you play?
Is
Would
probably
you play Temtem for charity?
Temtem's probably way better than Pokemon.
I've played. I'll talk about Temtem because I played a bit of that actually as well, so I can talk about that.
And then we have Aaron JF94. Random Jazz, I really love your shows. Thank you. Honestly, I'm happy to be able to chat with you guys. You try out Pillars 2. Could you see Pillars Skyrim style? So he's talking about the Obsidian game, the 2 games that they made like right before Xbox acquired them. Pillars 2, the console version just came out. I haven't played Pillars 1. I believe Pillars 2 is like a direct sequel, is it not?
Yes, it is. It's direct sequel. Set on a ship, I believe. Well, you have command of a ship anyway. But yeah, I honestly like Pillars is one of those games that is shamefully in my backlog. I just like it's one of those games where like if you leave it for any length of time and try and come back to it, you won't know what you're doing or where you're going. So every time I sort of take a break from it, I come back and I'm like, oh, I should probably start over. And then I just sort of do you know what I mean? It's one of those games. So I really need to get around to it. But I have like Pillars of Eternity is one of those franchises that I think would find a more of a broad appeal if it was 3D. Like I often hear that from people on Twitter and stuff that they wish some of these isometric games like Wasteland and Pillars were 3D. Even though like they find the world appealing, they just don't like the retro gameplay and stuff, which is fine. You know, it's not for everyone. But yeah, I would like to see that as a more sort of big budget Skyrim sort of game. Even if it was like a spin-off or something. You know, set in the universe, but not sort of betraying what the fans of the base game want, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's what Aaron says in another message. Could you imagine Pillars Skyrim style? And I had heard that one of the games that Obsidian's working on is a big AAA Skyrim style game. Or like Obsidian Skyrim, essentially, is what people were referring it to. And we also got Spider-Man saying, will we get Savage Rand again today? The last podcast with Rand screaming at the top of his lungs that he was right about Horizon Zero Dawn is my favorite show. Yeah, there's a lot of people's favorite shows. I was just waiting for the moment to reveal itself, and it did. And I had a lot of fun with that show. Obviously, nothing's confirmed until it's confirmed, so maybe we'll have a little Savage Rand again when it's actually announced by Sony, whenever they get around to announcing it. But that was fun to do because I don't normally cut loose like that. But
Journey to the Savage Rand.
Yeah, Journey to the Savage Rand. Yeah, so you know what? We got a whole bunch of topics. Obviously, we're going to be talking about stuff from last week and this week. You know, the hardware leak, Cyberpunk getting delayed because of Xbox, like a whole bunch of stuff, right? Xbox dying. I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard the news, but Xbox is dying. It's down 40%. Microsoft's about to sell the division. Oh my God. It's so horrible. They're dying. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I feel like this Xbox dying thing comes up every
3 months. Every 3 months when the financial reports come out, the same people are be like, "What? Xbox is dying. What's going on?" And when PlayStation announces their financial report and they're down whatever percentage they're down, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's the end of the gen. Oh, okay. So so I see. What's good for the goose isn't good for the gander, or wherever the saying goes, right?
I like gooses.
I know you do. So, if you guys are, do us a favor, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share this out on Twitter, social media, because YouTube does a piss poor job of letting people know that we're live. And shout out to El Enaminapio, says, Sony doing something the 15th official? Well, not yet. And Gunstar says, glad you're back. Almost wanted to send you a dick pic. Sorry, topical. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is a very topical, but we're not going to be talking about that.
Oh, God. Now I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah. Let's. Yeah.
Oh man, I love this community sometimes. Oh man,
it is pretty funny.
Yeah,
so before we get into all the great juicy stuff, Tell me what the heck's going on with Blizzard, Jazz. Warcraft 3, since you played it. Like, what the heck is going on with them, man?
I don't know, man. Well, I honestly I don't know that much about it, but basically all I know is Warcraft 3 Reforged, the remaster of the beloved strategy game Warcraft 3, which is widely regarded as one of the best strategy games of all time, if not one of the best games of all time. Blizzard remade it. They announced it. I can't remember if it was this year or the year before. I think it was the year before. But they announced they were remaking or remastering Warcraft 3, and they called it Warcraft 3 Reforged for PC. You can no longer buy the original Warcraft 3. If you try, it just directs you to Warcraft 3 Reforged, blah, blah, blah. So there's this sort of like annoying sort of situation where it's not living up to people's expectations. The animations are kind of janky, they're inconsistent. Some parts have been remastered and other parts haven't been touched at all. And it's currently at 2 out of 10 on Metacritic user score. And you know, you can say what you want about Metacritic user scores, yeah, that people bomb them and stuff when they're unhappy with something. But you know, it's a good gauge of like what some of the, you know, hardcore community feel about a game release, I guess, to some degree. And people aren't happy with it. So I'm going to play it myself this weekend. I haven't really played it much. I just sort of installed it and checked out a little bit. I'm a huge Warcraft 3 fan, as you might expect. Love the game, love the story. Like, the story in Warcraft 3 is just incredible for a strategy game, and the characters, and, you know, these are the characters that made World of Warcraft such a phenomenon, you know?
Mm.
So I'm a bit concerned because ultimately it kind of just means that like Blizzard doesn't, if it is as bad as people are saying, then it kind of feels increasingly like Blizzard doesn't respect its own IP, and they just kind of like cashing in with this whole Diablo Immortal thing going to mobile, and everything's just a cash in now, you know? So I'm going to check that out this weekend, and I'll report back next week on how good it is or how bad it is and what it means for Blizzard, because I don't know. This just they used to be this company that shipped when things were ready. You know, there was this whole meme about soon trademark, and that was Blizzard's way of saying like, we'll ship it when it's ready. We'll ship it when it's ready. That's why Diablo 3 took so damn long, you know, to launch, because they were waiting for it to be ready and stuff like that. But I don't know. Increasingly, it looks like it's ship it when it's passable.
Well, there were the talks that Activision was starting to exert more influence on Blizzard. They wanted more games and faster.
It's more like shareholders, I guess, because you got to remember that Blizzard isn't really owned by Activision. It's like they merged, so like Activision shareholders are Blizzard shareholders and stuff like that. So it's a case of I don't know.
Well, that's what Adam just asked in Super Chat. Says, Jazz, is it Blizzard or Activision taking over?
Yeah, it's more like Mike Morhaime left, who's like the president of Blizzard, and he's the one who like he was the one who would have pushed back on this stuff. He's the one who would have been like, yeah, you know what, this ain't ready, let's delay it, you know. But like now without his voice in there saying, nah, we shouldn't ship this, there's no one to stop them, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess like it's more of a case of the OG Blizzard people aren't there to sort of damage control what corporate wants to do. So it's less Activision directly and more a case of Blizzard's as it used to be just isn't there anymore. You know?
Right.
A lot of the guys have retired. A lot of them have moved on to other companies. It happened. Similar thing happened to BioWare, right? When the doctors left. I don't know.
I mean, it's pretty sad because Blizzard was one of those companies that you could trust for a solid product whenever it came out.
Yeah.
But I mean, well, okay, maybe like, well, Diablo 3, well, that was kind of a mess at launch on the PC.
It was a mess at launch.
It was a mess at launch.
Servers, like, but you could wave that away as saying like, oh, Blizzard's like, you know, they haven't made this kind of game before or with the service.
But it just seems like the recent things they've been doing, you know, siding with the Chinese government and that whole thing, announcing an Overwatch 2, which do we really need an Overwatch 2? Now you have this with Warcraft 3, where it's like, this is your legacy. This is Warcraft. And you give it that treatment? It's strange, to say the least. You know what I mean? And we got Sean Burke saying, playing Xcloud preview in Canada, brilliant. They just brought it to Canada, like, what, yesterday or the day before or something? Or last week or something, right, Jazz?
Yes, it came to Canada, and I believe... Oh, no, that was already in Korea. Yeah, it came to Canada, like... Was it last week?
I think something like that. So more people testing out Xcloud. I'm still waiting for the iOS version, Phil, if you're listening to the show. Anybody from Xbox?
Well, if you're listening to the show, never bring it to iOS.
I am waiting patiently for you to put it on an actual phone platform.
Nobody cares about iOS, man. It's all about that Android master race
but nobody
now.
spends any money on Android.
They don't need to spend money with Xcloud, man. It's all free.
Okay, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So you're putting it on Android, but nobody's going to buy anything. Okay. This seems like the smartest move. And we got LMNOPO saying, are we likely to see StarCraft 2 on Switch or Xbox?
No.
Jess says no.
StarCraft is like the franchise that Blizzard just probably isn't going to do anything with anymore.
Yeah, StarCraft is probably dead for the long haul, or at least for quite some time. But if Microsoft did bring xCloud though to iOS, I test it out. I'm not saying I would use it a hell of a lot, but I definitely would, see what it's like. See if it's actually worth playing on it. I just don't really have an Android device, and I'm not going to go out to to buy one to stream something a couple times. So anything else? You play anything else besides... I know you didn't really play Warcraft. We're just talking about Blizzard screwing up as usual. But have you been playing anything?
Nah, not really.
Nah.
I've just been playing Warcraft, World of Warcraft again. So like I say, there's a new patch. A new patch, man. I've got it bad.
World of Warcraft? Really, Jazz? Come on, man.
Yeah, man.
I mean, at least I could understand a new Pokemon because it's brand new. You want to fight people. I heard you destroyed Lord Attic the other day.
It's funny actually. Like, I beat him on a coin toss because we were down to our last Pokemon, and I think we had equal speed. And what Pokemon does is when everything's equal, when all the stats are equal, the game does a coin toss to decide who wins the roll, and I won. So I beat him on a coin toss, really. But I'm gonna say that I destroyed him. That's more fun. Although I did give him I did sort of I did give him a chance. I did sort of hold back, should we say?
Yeah. Okay. So if you guys are wondering, if you're just coming in now, hit the like button. But the game playing in the background is one of the games I played this past week. It's brand new. It just came out, $30. Journey to the Savage Planet. I really wasn't interested in this game leading up to the launch, and a couple reviewers I do trust their opinions, Skill Up as well as ACG on YouTube. They both really enjoyed it, and I was like, you know what? I got nothing to play. It's dry out here in the gaming streets. Even though I literally have 2,000 games at my disposal on Xbox. I just wasn't really in much of a gaming mood. I've been kind of, watching stuff on Netflix a lot. I finished season 2 of Sex Education, started up The Outsiders, watched Parasite last night. I don't know if any of you guys know about Parasite, the Korean film that's nominated for Best Picture. Honestly, I
have heard of it.
Yeah, honestly, one of the best movies I've seen in a long, long time. I recommend people check it out. So I picked up Journey to the Savage Planet. And you know what? I actually quite like it. I played it for maybe about 2 hours now. It's really, it definitely does give you that No Man's Sky vibe, but not in the sense of you're just gonna be crafting and exploring planets. You're stuck on this one planet, and your goal is to collect fuel to leave and maybe make it habitable for other people to come. But even though it's kind of this big world, you're kind of gated by progress because you can't get across this gap because you need jet boosters, right? So you can't go that way. So it's kind of, there's always a path to go for the primary thing. It's this leads me to the jet boosters. Now I can get and go back and do that. And now I need a grapple hook. Now I'm getting a grapple hook and I can do that, etc., etc. And you just kind of follow the path. So I mean, the game looks good. The gameplay I can tell is probably not going to support like something that's 20 hours long because the combat is just, I mean, you can see it on screen. It's, you just, fire and just reload. It is playable in 2-player co-op right from the beginning. Yeah, man, like I actually quite like this game.
It sounds kind of like Subnautica with co-op, maybe?
Kind of, but maybe on a lesser scale. This is from the Typhoon, who had just got bought out by Google. And they're going to be making Stadia exclusives. RIP, sorry.
Oh, they got bought by Google?
Yeah, Google's the one who bought them. RIP. So that's the game I've been playing. So if it looks interesting to you guys, like I think for $30, it's a pretty good deal. And honestly, I have $30 gift cards because for anybody you guys listening or anybody listening to this later, whether you're on iTunes or Google Play or if you're listening it later on YouTube. Microsoft Rewards has 20% off $5 gift cards. So I had roughly about 26,000 Microsoft Rewards. So I redeemed them for 6 $5 gift cards. So basically I got $30. So because they're on sale. So if you guys don't know what Microsoft Rewards are, it's an easy way to get points to do stuff when you buy games or when you like search on Bing or you do certain quests. Basically, everything you do, you get points. Well, there's a big sale on the $5 gift card, so if you have a whole bunch of points saved up, go get that money, man. Spend it on something. That's what I did, and I bought this game.
Get that bread.
Get that bread, yeah. We do have some questions here, so let me get to them. We got Adam. He says, "Jazz, don't listen to Rand. I'm replaying Skyrim again. Play what you like, even if it makes others mad." Okay. Sin Vendetta says, "Come on, Jazz, got to get on that Salt and Sanctuary." Gunstar says to Falconeer, "What you reckon? I like the look." I watched the trailer. It does look pretty good. What do you think, Jazz?
What was Salt and Sanctuary again?
Salt and Sanctuary was like the 2D kind of side-scrolling like hack and slash Dark Souls game.
Oh yeah, I remember. A few people told me. Yeah, I'll get on that at some point.
Yeah, and Mighty Ryan says, "Do you think the Atari VCS will make a splash in the console market, and why aren't people talking about it more? Love the show, guys."
Oh, I can tell you why no one's talking about it.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to do anything. I mean,
Atari made a hotel. Did you see this news?
Yeah, what's up with that?
I don't know. Atari's branching out in case this console doesn't make it.
In case the console doesn't make it, okay. It probably won't make it, but whatever. So what else have I been playing? I actually completed Remnant from the Ashes. Played it in 3-player co-op with my buddies. Downloaded it.
So much good stuff about that game.
Yeah, downloaded it from Xbox Game Pass. Played it through in the entirety of it. With Loveboat Gopher and Mr. Black Magic, my 2 buddies. And it was about an 8-hour game. It's basically Dark Souls with guns. Obviously nowhere near as hard as Dark Souls. So thanks to Xbox Game Pass, because I didn't have to buy the game. It was fun. It was fun up to a certain point. Like, it definitely, I could see why people like it. I can see why people who like Dark Souls enjoy it. It definitely has that hard aspect. Some of the boss fights in particular are the highlight of this game. Some of the boss fights are actually really well done, and there's about halfway through where you fight 2 bosses at once. Best moment of the whole game, because it took us a long time to kind of work together to be able to beat both of them at the same time. So that was really cool. However, the final boss in the game is the worst final boss fight I've ever experienced in any video game I've ever played. So keep that in mind. It's about 8 hours. It's on Game Pass. If you have buddies, it's definitely a better experience. So I really liked it. I mean, it's not a looker. It's not like you're gonna load it up and be like, oh my god, my eyes, look how amazing it's look. It's like it's kind of like maybe a late 360 title. I mean, it just looks okay, but it plays well, man. Like it definitely was quite a lot of fun. So I played that. Played this Journey to the Savage Planet.
Actually, I did play something else. I played Zombie Army 4.
Oh, I've played a little bit of Zombie Army 4, but I can't talk about it yet.
I think you can talk about the first 2 levels and your early impressions, but you can't give a final score to it.
I mean, it's Zombie Army.
It's in its preview period. Right?
Yeah, it's.
I streamed it for a couple of hours on Monday. So like if you want to see some gameplay of it, you could go and check out the stream on mixer.com/Windows Central. But so far I really, really like it. It's just the sort of scratching that Left 4 Dead itch for me.
Yeah, I'll probably have footage of that game up on the podcast for next week, since that I think it comes out at the 4th, I want to say. Yeah, the 4th. So I'll probably throw footage for that up there. But yeah, so that's kind of what I've been playing. I've been really obviously just waiting until March when we get Ori 2 finally, which just went gold, Jez. I don't know if you saw. Ori 2 went gold. So it went gold on the 28th, and the original release date was February 11th. It's like, any chance we can move it up to the original release date? So I can have something to play in February? No?
No. You don't deserve it.
We got a question from Killer Z Ace. Will Project Xcloud support 1080p instead of 720p at launch? How do I become an alpha insider? Because I've been a beta insider for over 4 years now. I'm not sure how you move up in the insider program, but Jez, Xcloud support. Would that... Go ahead.
I'm not sure like how you actually advance in the ranks on the insider builds anymore. I'm honestly not sure that you can at the moment. I think that might be changing the way the system works and stuff. But on the flip side, Xcloud's gonna be rolling out pretty soon, I would think, to more people. They're ramping up pretty quickly. They've hit Canada. They're coming to Western Europe very soon. In weeks, not months. So, I don't know. Stay tuned, I guess.
So what about the 720p, 1080p thing? Is that more of when they put the Lockhart blades into the cloud for the next generation stuff? Is when people can start seeing 1080p streams instead of like base Xbox One S streams?
Yeah, like to get it above 720p, I think it's more about the blades being upgraded, maybe. Because one of the issues that Xcloud has right now is that it's so slow to actually load into a game, and that's because they're running off the OG Xbox hard drives. So when it comes up with "we're setting up your stream," what it really means is we're loading your game, and it's really slow because we're using old hard drives. Whereas Stadia is using SSDs, presumably. Maybe even NVMe drives. I don't know, but when they do upgrade the server blades, probably pretty soon, when they upgrade the server blades, all those like load speeds and increased resolution and stuff like that, all that'll be like coming in then. But if you're Microsoft, the thinking is we've got all this spare Xbox One stock sitting around, all these chips that we didn't use and stuff like that. Why not just like repurpose those into Xbox server blades? So like A, it reduces our overheads on the rollout of Xcloud. B, global internet infrastructure isn't really up to doing more than 720p game streaming at the minute anyway. And C, well, there wasn't a C because the A and B was so great. So
okay,
there. That's my thinking of it. So it's like it's going to be a service that evolves and improves over time, and it'll be seamless. It won't be like, oh, Xcloud needs to go down for a week because we need to upgrade the server blades. They'll be like, oh, my streams are now much better now because it's all part of an array,
Yeah, I would expect that to get better probably. After next gen comes out, when they put the Lockhart blades into the cloud, so you can have the next gen experience. Faster loading, like Jess said, higher resolutions and stuff. I think it might be some time before if they ever put Series X in the cloud, though.
Yeah, I don't see the point in putting the Series X in the cloud. Like, so you can have like 4K streaming. Like, who really streams at 4K? Like, pretty much no one.
Well, I mean, that's Google's whole kind of thing, is it not? Stadia.
Yeah, but so what? They're lying. Like, no one can stream at 4K effectively.
Yeah, Google Stadia. Oh man. What a. Ooh. Yeah. I don't.
Google put their foot in it again today. Did you see what they said?
Today, I know they said something yesterday. What they say today?
was it yesterday? Well, maybe it was yesterday then. Where they were saying it's up to game devs to announce when they're coming to Stadia.
Well, I mean,
Like,
I do agree with them on that. I mean, Xbox doesn't announce other people's games, so
yeah, but at the same time, they've got like they're
no
trying
games.
to.
I know.
They've got a responsibility to grow that platform and like make developers confident in the platform. Right now, they're not really doing a great job of it. And also, when it comes to indie devs and stuff like that, indie devs aren't really often don't have the, you know, the cash flow to really put that marketing out there. So like, you would have thought Google would have some sort of program in place to help indie devs market the fact they're coming to Stadia.
Yeah.
Like, they can't expect devs to do all the heavy lifting and market their platform for them. At least in the beginning, they need to do a bit more themselves. You know, at least that's my take on it.
So Ella Menapino, he says Phantasy Star Online 2 beta incoming February. Yeah, that's correct. I think it's like next week. That was one of the big announcements at E3 was that Phantasy Star Online 2 was coming to the West, and
I've never played Phantasy Star.
I think I played the first one on the 360. But
was it on the Dreamcast?
It might have been as well. And Sin Vendetta says, Jazz Rand suffered through Pokemon for you. Of course he deserves Ori too early. Thank you, San. Thank you. I do deserve Ori too early.
Rand should be giving me rewards for introducing him to such an amazing game.
Yeah, Pokemon. And Danero says, how do you earn so many Microsoft reward points? So the way that system works, and I know Cold Eastwood has a great video on it if you want to check it out on his channel. I'm gonna
rip off that video for an article. Thanks, Cole.
Yeah, you probably should. I mean, because more and more people are, obviously joining Xbox.
On the gravy train.
Yeah, so basically, you get points back for every $1 you spend in the store. I personally, because I think I'm like level 2 or level 3 or something, I get like 80 points for every $1 I spend. So, like when I buy a game, I get a whole bunch of points. And then there's quests you can do, like Game Pass has quests where it's like, hey, play Witcher 3 and, get an achievement and we'll give you 200. And you can do searches on Google, or not on Google, on Bing. And you can do it daily and you add up a whole bunch of Microsoft rewards. And people that do that, which only takes a few minutes a day, they basically do that and it pays for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Like, they don't have to buy it because it pays for itself. And because I buy a lot of games, because I play a lot of games, the more you buy, the more you get back. So I think I saw one of my buddies posted he had 240,000 Microsoft rewards. So he ended up getting
240,000.
Yeah, so he ended up getting like $300. Yeah, $300 in Microsoft credit. So
wow.
that's just the more you spend, the more you get. It's just kind of a rewards program.
There's also like sweepstakes. Like if you want to gamble your points and you want to live on the edge, you can like gamble some of your points away for a chance to win like a Surface and stuff like that. Like, really
see, Nine Lives says he has 100,000 points. Timothy Weekly says he's over 200,000. Like I said, guys, They got that deal. 4,000 Microsoft, reward points get you a $5 gift card. So, I mean, that'll get you some games. You'll be able to buy some games for free coming up.
And also,
with that.
if you switch your search engine to Bing and log in with your Microsoft account, every search you do on mobile, on Windows, on Xbox even, with Bing, counts towards your points. And if you do like a lot of searches, like sometimes I literally just search because I'm too lazy to type out the full URL sometimes. Like, you just get points and it just racks up. And honestly, unless you're doing a very specific search, Bing's fine for like most things. Like, it's not the best. It's not Google, but if you're just using it for like basic stuff, it's completely fine. Like, I use Bing like as my exclusive search engine for years at this point, just because, Microsoft.
Yeah.
And I haven't ever felt like, oh, I'm not getting what I'm searching for here. Never felt that thing.
And Aaron says he has 294 Microsoft reward points. Whoa, that's a lot. You need to get some money. And
I might do a poll on Windows Central, like how much Bing reward points you have, and then like do a chart showing the median.
Yeah, and Face23BKNY, the guy I have a bet with regarding Horizon Zero Dawn coming to PC, but our bet obviously is contingent on Sony announcing it for PC officially by the release of Final Fantasy VII. Otherwise, the loser has to buy the other person the game. I'm assuming because it got delayed to April, are we saying that it has to be announced by April, Face? Let me know either way. But he says, Sony is asking PS4 owners if they want remote play on the Nintendo Switch. Do you think this will happen, Rand? Did you see this, Jez? There's an article that came out about it today.
Yeah, I did see that. That's in their surveys, right?
Yeah, they asked about putting on Switch and put it on like a Dual Shock on the go or something like that, like kind of implying there might be like, I don't know, a portable PlayStation system maybe. I mean, what do you think about that?
It makes sense. Well, this is something I've been thinking about increasingly because the Switch is just crushing it right now. Like the Switch financials were crazy. Pokemon sold 16 million copies, which just goes to show how bad your opinions of games are around.
My opinions are okay.
16 million copies. That means it's a good game, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. Yeah. No?
I mean, is it? I don't know. I mean, it just means it's incredibly popular. It's nothing to do whether or not it's good.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Google aren't crushing it, but Nintendo are crushing it. And like one thing like that I keep thinking increasingly is I kind of want a dedicated device for xCloud. I don't really like using it on my phone. The text is crushed. I get notifications from people and texts, which means I have to minimize the game and go back to it, which means the stream drops out and I have to start over. It's kind of annoying. And increasingly, I'm thinking like, it'd be cool if I just had a device that all it could do was receive xCloud streams, Mm-hmm. So like if Sony does make a Vita 2 or something that just does streaming from your PlayStation or from PlayStation Now, I think that's a complete winner. And if Sony does it, Microsoft doesn't do it, I think they're going to be like missing a trick there. I don't think focusing entirely on phones is going to be enough by itself, personally.
I think the way Sony would do it would be incredibly smart if they put remote play on the Switch. Because remote play isn't necessarily like xCloud. Where xCloud is, it's an Xbox in the cloud. You don't need to own the
thing is, you have to remember there, Rand, is that Nintendo's going to be like, well, if they're playing games on their PlayStation, they're not buying things from our store.
True.
So where's the benefit for us?
So yeah, I guess it's
Nintendo might be like, okay, but we're going to put it beyond the Nintendo Online paywall, maybe, or something.
That is interesting because essentially remote play, like they just added it for Xbox too. Like I think it's all insiders. If you can turn your console into basically a streaming center, stream your games. PlayStation's had that for a while. So yeah, a lot of people would probably, as the data has pointed out, like Matt Piscatella of NPD and people talked about, like the Switch and the PlayStation, or the Switch and the Xbox are companion devices. A lot of people own a PS4 and the Switch. A lot of people own Xbox and Switch. So, like Jez was saying, like maybe it makes sense if you put Xbox games on the Switch as your mobile device, PlayStation. Hey, I want to play God of War on the go. You can actually play it on your Switch with actual, gaming controls instead of like touchscreen controls. So that would be really cool. But like you said, considering PlayStation pretty much gets all the same games as Switch does, what's to stop people from just buying everything on the PlayStation and then just remote playing it to the Switch and then nobody buying games on the Switch? So I could see why Sony would want it, because you still would need their hardware because it's remote play. So it's like anybody streaming on the Switch from them is in their ecosystem still. But yeah, well, it makes you wonder, like, what would Nintendo be getting out of that deal?
That's why Apple blocked Steam Link to start with. It was because it was basically like, well, we're letting you stream Steam games to our devices. What are we getting out of this? And like eventually they did let Steam Link on the system, but I don't know like how Apple monetizes that or whatever, or if they even monetize it at all. Like what deal did that come out to? It's like, I don't even know if you can buy Steam games through Steam Link or through apps on iOS or whatever. But maybe they get a cut of that now or something. I don't know. I'd have to look into it. But there is that question, which is kind of like, I feel increasingly like Sony and Xbox need Nintendo rather than the other way around, right? Like it'd be like, well, we don't need PlayStation on Switch to sell Switch. So what are you going to do for us? So that's the way I'm thinking of it. And the same for Xbox. That we don't need Xbox on Switch. Yeah, we needed Minecraft on Switch in the early days, maybe. But what have you got to offer us now?
Yeah,
they don't need that shit.
And people are asking about the money that you get from Microsoft Rewards. You have to spend it within 90 days. So if you get $50 from them, you have 90 days to spend it. That's kind of the only drawback. So you get 3 months. Aaron says, "Hey, please, community, help us get an Xcloud handheld." I mean, Jez had a very interesting theory about that on the last podcast 2 weeks ago, that he thought Lockhart was some sort of Switch-like hand. Are you still thinking that, Jez? Or are we coming back to reality thinking it's just the server blades?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's just a theory. Like, I don't really have any hard evidence.
Yeah, it's your theory too, by the way. I've seen. Yeah, I've seen people saying that it's now their theory.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've seen people trying to co-opt it.
Who said that? We can tell me later. But it's just a theory. Like, I don't have any sort of hard evidence on that at all. It's just something that Lockhart could be. I just increasingly feel like it's not just another Xbox. I feel like there's something more to it. There's like a bigger play here. But it could just be me filling in blanks with, hype and stuff. It could just be nothing. I don't have any evidence. If I do ever get evidence, you'll see it on Windows Central.
Yeah. Jez will write about it there first. And Spider-Man says, "Do you think the PS5 could be behind schedule?" There's been a lot of talk about this recently because of something I think a Capcom insider said. That there was a game that was going to be revealed soon, but it was supposed to be revealed earlier, but like the PlayStation 5 had to be reworked, essentially. So people are like thinking like, oh, well, Xbox Series X is 12 teraflops Navi power, right? And some people even doubt that to this day, even though you came out there and said it by your sources. Even though, like Phil said, it's twice the power of the, X GPU, dealer made a video about it, all that stuff, right? Even though, Digital Foundry heard the same thing, Tom Warren heard the same thing, people for whatever reason are very quick to say that's not happening. 12 teraflop Navi GPUs, it's impossible. It's impossible.
Well, the people that are saying it's impossible, they don't have a face. They have like an avatar and they have a handle. So if They can say whatever they want, and it's no consequence to them.
Oh, so what you're saying is, it's just the online discussion where you can say whatever you want and there's no repercussions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so there was the rumors that the PlayStation 5 might be weaker, whether it's 10 teraflops or 9 teraflops or 8 teraflops. People have gone through the gamut. Like, I swear to God, in any given week, the PlayStation 5 is either 8 teraflops, 9 teraflops, 12 teraflops. I've heard it go all the way up to 14 teraflops. It has a dual GPU. There's a hidden GPU in the freaking the power brick. Like, oh my God, so many crazy theories revolving around. A lot of people took that guy's quote saying that, like, oh, well, Sony went back to the drawing board after Microsoft kind of revealed the Series X, and they're just, like, upping everything to make it on par with it. But that's not what I don't think that's what he meant. I think the PlayStation 5 was supposed to come out in 2019. And I think at some point in 2017, I think they just said, no, we need to push it to 2020.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that's what that guy meant by that. But I mean, I don't know either way. I don't think anybody does until someone who's willing to speak on record if something like that ever actually happened, like Jason Schreier. But if you were to tell me, like, hey, the PlayStation 5 was supposed to be this and it was supposed to be out in 2019, I could believe that. I wouldn't be like, you know what, yeah, sure, maybe it was originally supposed to and they pushed it back to 2020 for whatever reason. Either way, but because we're talking about PlayStation, I'm gonna keep it on PlayStation. Well, today was the day, Jazz. Today was the day, January 31st. I don't know. People were waiting for Sony to put out an announcement today that, I just lost my train of thought. But essentially,
they were announcing the PlayStation.
The PlayStation 5 reveal event. A lot of PlayStation insiders have been saying for a while now, there's a big event coming in February. They're going to reveal the PlayStation, and it's going to be in New York, etc., etc., etc.
Hang on, are
And
you saying they haven't announced it?
no, they haven't said shit yet. They haven't said anything yet. Shout out to Face for the super chat. It says Xbox Series X focused on
thought they
power,
had.
PS5 focused on efficiency. I mean, we definitely know Series X is focused on power. The one thing the PlayStation they talked heavily about the PlayStation 5 is the SSD they have. Other than that, we don't know much about it. But yeah, Jazz, so everybody is like waiting with bated breath today that they hope Sony by 5 p.m. Eastern sends out a tweet or post a YouTube trailer being
I'm
like,
sure I saw something on Twitter where people
it was a
just trolling.
fake account. It was a PlayStation account with 100 followers.
Right.
Yeah, it was fake, and people fell for it. That's the thing. So you have all these PlayStation insiders, quote unquote, saying that there's a big event coming in February. And I swear to God, for the past 2 weeks, every single time I would get on YouTube or I'd look on Twitter, there'd be rumors. There's an event on February 5th. There's an event on February 12th. There's an event on February 29th. There's an event on February 19th. And all of them would have different information. And it's just like, yo, February 5th? Like, I don't know, like, that's a week from now? That ain't happening. You can pretty much say, yeah, that's not happening. But I will say, though, Jez, the reason why people are saying this is because it's what Sony did with the PlayStation 4. They sent out invites on January 31st. They had a YouTube trailer announcing the February 20th official reveal of the PlayStation 5. And everybody assumed PlayStation was going to do the exact same thing, even though there's new management and the people that were basically in charge of the PlayStation 4 are gone. People thought they would do the exact same thing, lock and step. And it's starting to look like it's not going to happen, or at least not in the same way. And I know there's a couple people I talked to. One of them probably is listening right now because he's been asking me about it. I told him 3 weeks ago. I said 3 weeks ago to him, I'm hearing absolutely nothing about a PS5 event. In fact, I've been told that there wasn't going to be one in February. Straight up told by someone who is very well connected that there wasn't going to be an event. But I didn't say anything publicly because I just didn't believe it. I was like, nah, this person's wrong. There's no way. There has to be a PlayStation event. All these people are saying there is one. There's got to be, there's smoke. There's got to be some fire, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. We come to January 31st. Sony's been really quiet. I don't think there's going to be a press event next month. Like, there might be a state of play where it's just like, hey, we recorded this stuff. Boom. Like Nintendo Direct style. Here's some PlayStation 5 games. Here's a look at the PlayStation 5 console. Out you go. Or, you know what? They've done 2 Wired articles already. Who's to say they don't do another Wired article? Like, I think...
Maybe they've got some kind of deal with Wired? Because that does happen.
Yeah, it's quite possible. It's just... I don't know. Like, I think people expecting like a big press reveal... I don't know if that's gonna happen, man. It could. I don't know. Like and there's definitely people that have been saying it for quite some time now that something's happened in February, and it's like they have sources. Not looking pretty good right now for them. Is all I'm gonna say. Not looking good at all.
Yeah, but again, these are people who are an avatar. They don't put their real names out there, right? That's the thing. Like, when it's like, unless it's someone who's legit putting their career on the line, I never fully believe them.
True. Yeah, I mean, that is true. Andrew Jones says, I'm definitely buying the handheld device that Jez thinks he'll be coming. Love the show. Well, we appreciate all the love you guys are showing to the show. I disagree with Jez. I don't think Lockhart is a handheld. Although I know there's people that would want one, and for you guys' sake, I hope Microsoft would make one, but I don't think they will. And
I don't know. It's just seriously, like I told you, I don't have any evidence. It's just this weird feeling I've got.
And DI Almighty Spartan God says, remember PlayStation 4 still exists. How is it not looking good for them? I'm not talking about Sony, brother. I'm not talking that it doesn't look good for Sony, because obviously everything's good for Sony. I'm talking about the people that said, hey, there's an event coming in February, and I know because I have sources. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Rand's talking about it's not good for the reputation of the people who claiming stuff.
Yeah, it's not good for those people. Like Sony's in a good position. Like regardless of what people want to say, like they're still at the front runner. They're still
Sony's
the bigger
laughing,
brand. They're still good. So I didn't mean it like that. I meant it from the people that are like, I know. I'm like, okay, well, I hope you do know because man, February 5th, February 12th, February 19th, February 29th, they're going to come and go real fast. And then what? You're going to come out and say, well, they canceled it or they delayed it. You sure about that? You sure? And Elemental Peel says there's no fun when no one can predict companies anymore. Sony will do whatever it wants, whenever. That's true. Yeah, Sony will do whatever they want whenever they feel like it. Like Gunstar said in chat, Last of Us 2 is still coming out in May. It's possible they wait for Last of Us 2 to come out and then they reveal the PS5. Maybe they reveal it right. You gotta look, like maybe they know the press is going to be in LA for E3. Maybe they hold an event right before E3 and reveal the PlayStation 5. I mean, the whole idea of like, the PS5 has to be revealed in February because that's how Sony revealed it with the PlayStation 4 is asinine. It was one time. And like everyone's basing it on that. It's just, who knows what's going to happen, I guess. Learn that, Jez. Moving on from the PlayStation 5. Want to talk about Xbox Series X?
Sure. What's on your mind?
What'd you think of that hardware leak?
Which?
The one where someone just casually posted a photo of the prototype unit on Twitter.
Oh, was that last week?
Yeah, that was last week.
I don't even know.
Yeah, time.
I have no concept of time anymore. That was random. First of all, you mean the one that didn't censor the serial?
Yeah, the one that did not censor the serial number. The one that had a pube in the bottom left-hand corner and was covered in fuzz. Yeah, that one.
Oh my god. Oh yeah. Okay. No, definitely remember. But yeah, that was really random. Like someone probably lost their job over that, which really sucks. But it is what it is. Like that is obviously that's real. That's like the same. I saw the same photos, not of that Xbox, but a different one that looked exactly the same. So like all those ports and all that stuff is the same. But I will say, by the way, I've heard something interesting about that backport slot that there is some contention about.
Yeah, you're telling me about that the other day. What do you that long slot that people are kind of like, oh, because yeah, what does it have? It has two USB A's, it has the Ethernet, it has the optical out, it has the HDMI in or HDMI out. Sorry, no HDMI in for you special ed. I know he was very upset. Shout out to Xbox era. He was very upset that they removed the Xbox in. But that long slot, a lot of people have said it's a diagnostic port, but you don't necessarily think so, do you?
Well, when I got the photos, I had no idea what that port was. I was told that it was a facet port, I think they called it, which is to plug a diagnostic tool into it. But I've now heard that it actually might be a storage expansion port, which is what a lot of people were speculating about. And I've now heard that it actually might be that. Like, and again, I haven't printed this on Windows Central because the only evidence I've got right now is circumstantial. But this is what I've heard, is that it is, in fact, a port designed to expand the storage capabilities of the Xbox One using the CF Express standard. Now, CF Express is relatively new. It's a SSD, memory expansion system that is typically used with high-end cameras right now, from what I understand. And I might be getting this wrong, but this is what I understand about CF Express. It's used typically in cameras, and it's pretty damn expensive. However, if Microsoft was buying them in bulk to make their own, to sell their own hard drives and stuff like that for it, I imagine it would bring the price down pretty fast. and like the price of SSDs in general have come down pretty rapidly over time as demand increased, and like there's more of an urgency to get the prices down and stuff like that. Like it might be expensive when it launches, but the price will come down pretty quick. Like you can buy a 4K TV pretty quickly now, and the first 4K TVs cost like 10 grand. Back in the day. So this is how tech works. When it's new, it's expensive. When it proliferates, it gets cheaper. Stuff like that. So yeah, I've heard that it could be CF Express expansion slots, so you can increase the capacity of your hard drive. And CF Express has speeds of up to, I think it's like 2 gigabytes or something, which is in line with what I heard the Xbox One's read speeds are for the internal hard drive. So that was one of the issues that people often brought up, was this idea that, well, if you're using a hard drive storage to expand your library, that's going to be much slower than the internal memory, right? You'd need some kind of, and if they've got like USB-A ports on there, then that's another bottleneck. Like even if you've got an SSD that has theoretically high read speeds, it's bottlenecked by that USB-A like crazy. But like, they could have solved that by using Thunderbolt or USB-C, but there's no Thunderbolt or USB-C ports. But if they are using this CF Express standard for the SSD expansion, which again, I have no hard evidence for, it's just something I've heard. So don't take it with a big, heavy pinch of salt. Before you start claiming, oh, Jez said this, blah, blah, blah. This is just a rumor for the podcast. It's not a leak. If it is true about CF Express, that would eliminate the sort of the concerns about there being slower storage on your expanded, hard drive or whatever, or a solid state drive.
Right.
But
that would be very interesting if it was a say the word for me, Jessica, because I know I was going to screw it up. Proprietary expansion, for the hard drive.
Well, CF Express is like a standard. Anyone can license.
Oh, anybody can get it. So I wonder, like, if that was true, and if you wanted to expand it to 2 gigabytes or 3 gigabytes, I wonder how expensive it would be, or terabytes rather.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if like CF Express is owned by a consortium or like like US, like some of these tech consortiums like for standards and stuff like that, or if it's an open standard. I don't know, but it's typically used in cameras right now. And if that's how if that is true, and it is how Microsoft's looking to allow people to increase storage if they don't want to use USB-A, then great. But I'm not expecting it to be cheap at launch if they are using CF Express. But again, it could be completely wrong. Don't have any real evidence for it. I haven't written up on Windows Central for this reason. I'm still looking into it, so take it with a pinch of salt. It's just a rumor for you guys, because we love you.
Yes.
Folks.
And Killer Z in Super Chat says, Rand and Jez, I truly believe that using a face cam and gameplay during your future podcast will really improve your show. Keep up the good work. Yeah, we'll probably one day. Maybe one day we'll do the face cam stuff, but we'll definitely continue to use gameplay if people seem to like it, which I think they do. Because I play a lot of games every single week. Right? Yeah, it's something to watch instead of just us, especially if it's new games. People want to know if, it's worth buying or stuff like that. And I play a lot of stuff. So it's like I record everything from the X DVR, and it's just easy enough to just kind of like, here's the video and just have it. And considering that my internet's been upgraded, because remember, when we first started doing the podcast up until about, November, my internet was pretty crappy. I had 75 down, 5 up. And I really couldn't stream at high bandwidth. But now I got 700 down, 27 up or 25 up. So now it's like, okay, stream at 1080p, stream at also like, I think 12,000, bit rate or whatever. And it's perfectly fine. So it's much easier to actually show cooler stuff rather than just like, 720p image or whatever, right?
You're going to stick zombie. I mean, people could actually like tell you what games they want you to put up on the channel.
Yeah, I mean, next week
we could say next week Rand could have an hour of Pokemon on there, for example.
No, I can't. Well, no, I already deleted Pokemon off my Switch. That ain't happening.
Oh wow! I bought you that.
I know you did. Well, you did, and I immediately deleted it. I immediately deleted Pokemon. I was like, delete. Wow. I do want to get Astral Chain though.
Guys,
I've been waiting for.
This is what I have to put up with. Just the lack of respect for the gifts that I give.
Yeah,
I'm hurt. I'm hurt.
Well, Ryan Holden. So we were talking about the hard drive stuff, and Ryan Holden says you just move the games you're playing to the faster hard drive, not that hard, guys. And that's true. Like the way I have
That
it
is
set
true.
up is I had an 8 terabyte hard drive and I had a 1 terabyte SSD, right? And I don't use the internal on the Xbox One X. So I would download all the games I was thinking about playing to my 8 terabyte. And then when I was actually playing them, I would just copy them or move them to the 1 terabyte SSD. Not a big deal because I don't really play a lot of games at once. You know what I mean? Then the 8 terabyte hard drive died, and it was like, oh, so sad. Now I have no games downloaded except the ones that are on my SSD. And I plugged in my 4 terabyte external, and I downloaded some of them. But yeah, that's what I do basically. So I downloaded Journey to the Savage Planet, I downloaded Disintegration Beta, immediately then move those both to the SSD, play them, and then once I'm done with them, I'll either move them back to the other hard drive or I'll just completely just delete them. You know what I mean? So,
I mean that would be the way to do it, but it's not exactly the seamless, connected future that faster loading speeds promised, is it? You know, if you have to mess around moving things from storage device to storage device every time you want to play, and moving things over USB-A is going to be slow as hell. You know, you might as well just download it off the internet almost. Yeah. So it's like having the option of having an expansion slot. If it is an expansion slot, it might well just be a debug port, like people have said. But I think that'd be a good option if this really is sort of like a future, you know, space age product or whatever.
So Saeed Ahmad says, "Hey Rand, did you hear about the new leak or whatever that almost confirms the PS5 SSD will be faster and all?" I mean, I read the same article as everybody else. I don't know anything about the Xbox SSD or the PlayStation 5 SSD, so I'm just kind of as clueless as most other people. I mean, did you see this story, Jez?
I did see this story, you know, and it was like reading into something that someone had read into something to try and extrapolate something about that you could slap PlayStation versus Xbox in. The PlayStation 5 hard drive may well be faster. Like the idea is that PlayStation 5 uses more PCIe lanes for the SSD, whereas Xbox uses PCIe 3.0 or something. I don't know. It's a bit beyond me as well. But basically, the idea is that the PlayStation 5 has more advanced PCIe, which leads to faster maximum speeds or whatever. And I heard that indeed Microsoft is telling developers that it is 2 gigabytes per second, which put it roughly in line with what the article was saying, which made me think, well, maybe this is true. You know, if this is what the article is saying about the theoretical speed of the Xbox SSD and what I've heard, that sounds about right. So maybe it is faster, but like it's going to be negligible. It's going to be a negligible difference. It's going to be like the whole, you know, 720p versus 900p thing all over again. It's going to be like, oh, well, my game loads 3 seconds faster than yours. Like, who cares? You know?
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, the tech stuff isn't my thing, so I'll let people much smarter than me talk about that. But moving on from that, we'll talk about a game here, Jez. Ninja Theory. Because we didn't get to talk about this last week. They just announced one of their new games out of the blue.
That was random as hell. Project Mara.
Project Mara. So what do you think? Do you like horror games? Do you like that type of stuff?
Well, I like action horror games. The walking simulator horror games generally bore me. And this kind of looks like maybe that's what it is. They're calling it more of an experience or an experiment in narrative storytelling, maybe similar to PT or something. But that said, I love PT because it was just so crazy and out there and stuff like that, even though it wasn't even a full game technically. Like I love what you can potentially do with interactive storytelling, even if a lot of the time I'd rather you give me a gun and let me shoot zombies in the head like Resident Evil. Like that is my ideal horror game, is basically Resident Evil style survival horror, you know. I don't like the walking simulator style.
It definitely kind of was like, with the fact that it's like one character and in one location, I was kind of like, man, this kind of like somebody really like PT.
Yeah,
wanted to recreate it. And then like there's talk about, well, this isn't a real game. I mean, like, look, it looks too real, but then like it came out that no, those were renders from the game. that's how it actually looks. So what do you think about the idea that Ninja Theory is basically, hey, we're doing a whole bunch of stuff. They kind of came out and said, this is what we're working on. We got a team finishing up on Bleeding Edge, which is coming out in 2 months. We have a team for Hellblade 2 that's twice as big as it was for Hellblade 1. And that's, gonna do the great things, big experiences that, proving that small teams or whatever can make just as big experiences as, the bigger teams. And then you got this other team that's working on Project Mara. And then there's that other, the Inside Project, which I'm not sure is a game or if it's like the umbrella for all these different things. Like the Inside Project is like the umbrella, and underneath it falls Project Mara and Hellblade 2, and there's still another game. But what do you think about Ninja Theory just being like, here's the games they're working on, and just kind of shutting people up who were expecting them to work on, I don't know, games as a service, multiplayer brawlers forever?
Well, what? Even if they're not making games for me, like I'm not sure Bleeding Edge is a game for me, and I'm not sure like Project Mario will be a game for me if it is like a walking simulator or whatever. I'm not sure those games are for me. But what does excite me is that Microsoft's allowing them to experiment. They could just sit there and say, "Yo, turn Hellblade into the next God of War. That's what we want you to do. That's why we're buying you. Do this." And there may well be a desire to do that within Ninja Theory, but the point is Microsoft's letting them get on with it. Microsoft's letting them experiment. Microsoft's letting them use their resources to express themselves creatively rather than turning them into another, factory, which is kind of what it feels like often happens when these big publishers buy out smaller studios or whatever. Like, look at BioWare. BioWare is the classic example of a studio that got bitten up and chewed out and thrown away by EA. And Visceral Games too. Dead Space, amazing. Dead Space 2, multiplayer, tacked on multiplayer to sell microtransactions. Okay, fine. And the Dead Space 3, basically an action game, try and make it like Gears of War, total fail. And then, Visceral, now you're a Battlefield studio, even though you've never made a shooter before. And Visceral, now you've closed down. That is how it sometimes goes with these kind of things. So, like, if Microsoft's like going to try and stay true to the creative teams that it's buying up, and it's not just Ninja Theory. This is about like the devs of Psychonauts, Double Fine, and it's about all these other sort of game studios that have something special about them. And it's what they accused Microsoft of doing to Rare for years. Like Rare was like this studio that made these beloved IP that made like revolutionary games like GoldenEye, and then Microsoft had them making Kinect games, And like you can argue that they wanted to make Kinect games, whether or not, I don't know. Like I don't know the truth behind what happened to Rare, But the point is that today, right now, with Phil Spencer and running the show, that doesn't seem to be happening. So that's why I'm encouraged personally, even if the games aren't for me.
Yeah, I think Project Mara is going to be a short game. I think you were probably looking at like a 2 to 4 hour experience. That's like I don't know. I knew when Microsoft bought Ninja Theory, I'm like, yo, they're gonna make some great stuff because they've always made great stuff. Original Hellblade, DMC, Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, like all great games. So it's like when Microsoft bought them, like, dude, they're like they don't got to worry anymore. It's like, all right, we'll just make what we want. And yeah, sure, Bleeding Edge isn't really what anybody thought of when it's like, oh yeah, here's this great single-player studio, let's make... But it was a game that they were already making that they were passionate about. So I was like, all right, put it out. But man, like seeing Project Mara, and then I'm a big fan of Hellblade. Even though I said after I finished Hellblade 1, like, you know what, I'm good with Hellblade. Like, there didn't really seem like there'd be a story that you could continue on there, even though, like... The way it ended, I guess you could say, well, there's another story or whatever. But then seeing the trailer and then hearing what Tamim had to say about how they're gonna talk about in Hellblade 2 how like the mental like illness helps kind of shapes like God's myths and stuff like that. I'm like, well, that is a very interesting take on that. If how like that shapes religion and stuff like that. I'm like, now I'm very interested in seeing what's gonna come out of that. So. Yeah. I was very shocked to just see it in a random like Tuesday or whatever. It was like, oh, here you go. Here's a new game. You think like they would save that for something else, but Xbox has a lot of content, so it's like. And honestly, Project Mars is probably not even really that big of a game. So either way, like I'm really looking forward to that. Phil Spencer, Jez. I don't know if you wrote an article about this. I'm not sure you did. Maybe you did. But I did a video about it. He teased the Initiatives project.
Oh yeah, someone in my team grabbed that. I think Asher probably.
Yeah.
Shout out to Asher, by the way. The dude is a machine. But yeah, he teased. He quote tweeted the initiative, didn't he? And then he said something like, "It was really great getting an update with the initiative." Paraphrasing, it's interesting to see them do new things and some old things in brackets or something. Basically teasing that, could be. Some people took it like he was teasing that they were working on a classic IP, bringing it back to the future or whatever. So, like, how did you interpret what Phil said?
So that's the thing. So he said that they're working on new things, but in old ways, right? What was the exact quote? Do you remember?
I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something. It was something to the effect of teasing that it could be something old, refreshed, or the other way around.
Yeah, he said they're challenging themselves to do new things and old things in new ways. So
yeah.
That, of course, got people thinking. All right, you're talking about old. Right? New things and old things in new ways. And there's been rumors, I've heard them, about a Perfect Dark game in development for some time. There was rumors that the Coalition was working on an aspect of it or something, but it definitely seemed, and there was that leak that came out a couple days before E3 that was 100% real. 99% real, except for one thing. He said Perfect Dark was going to be there, and it wasn't. But he literally had everything else right. So something's going on with Perfect Dark. So when I see Phil tweet that, I think to myself, okay, Daryl Gallagher, his history with Tomb Raider, his history with Crystal Dynamics, modernizing that game. If you were to come in and be like, I want you to build this team, right? And think of what you want to do. And you start like kind of combing through the backlog of unused Xbox IP that could maybe be just like Tomb Raider. And you're like, you know what? Perfect Dark. Nobody's using it. We could maybe build like a Cyberpunk setting, which is going to blow up here because Cyberpunk 2077. We could put like a Tomb Raider spin on it, like third person, maybe / first person stuff. And we could bring that back. But then, of course, there's people that like don't want the initiative to work on a new IP or work on Perfect Dark. They want the initiative to work on something new. Where do you fall on that, Jazz? Would you rather have them work on a brand new IP or Perfect Dark?
Well, for me, I never ever played Perfect Dark. So for me, it's as good as it being a new IP. And it's been so long that this won't be a sequel. This would be a total reboot. So it's, for me, as someone who's never played Perfect Dark and has no experience with Perfect Dark and doesn't know anything about Perfect Dark, I'm fine with it being Perfect Dark as long as it's a really good game. And honestly, I think that's probably true for most people because like Perfect Dark wasn't exactly this massive mega hit that everyone remembers fondly. It's sort of like, can you even call it like a cult hit? Maybe? I don't know. How do you did you play Perfect Dark? What do you think about it?
I played Perfect Dark Zero. I hated it.
That's what worries me. Like I don't know anyone that actually really likes Perfect Dark. I only know people who say, "Yeah, we want Perfect Dark back," but they never say like what was good about it, why should it come back, like. And also, I'm going to put this out there: I don't think the Tomb Raider reboot games are that good either. Like the shooting in Tomb Raider is atrocious. I hate it. Like it feels like you're playing with a toy gun. Like the gunplay in that game is awful, and it ruins the whole experience for me. Even though like I do like the setting, and I do like some of the things they try to do with the puzzling and the exploration and stuff like that. Like the core of the game, which is like the combat, I couldn't stand it. And like if the game that they're working on is going to be sort of like a Tomb Raider, where it's sort of like this sort of semi-ish open world game that isn't really truly open world with sort of average shooting mechanics and stuff like that. I'm not super excited about that prospect.
I mean, I get what people are saying about like they want them to work on something new. I get it. Microsoft has leaned heavily on Halo, Gears, and Forza. Halo, Gears, and Forza. Shout out to Kid Smooth in the chat. I had to do a little Kid Smooth song that he did this gen, right? And I think people just, number one, I don't think people really care for Perfect Dark. It had, what, 2 games? Perfect Dark on the 64 and Perfect Dark on the 360. They see Microsoft relying too much on older IPs, so they look at the initiative as a studio like, okay, brand new studio, fresh talent, new start. Why burden yourself with a older IP? Even if it's not Perfect Dark. Like, let's just, hypothetically, what if they're working on the new Banjo? You know what I mean? Or maybe a remake or a new Crimson Skies or something along those lines, right?
If they're working on a new Mecha Soul, I'm totally down for that.
Right. So I get that. Like, I know people want something brand new, but here's the thing with that. At least the way I see it. It's going to be like just like Playground's take on Fable. It's not going to be the Fable that you remember Lionhead making. It's just going to be Fable in name, and it's going to be a complete reimagining of the franchise. So if the initiative is really working on Perfect Dark, it'll basically just be a new franchise with just the same name and the same main character. It'll be completely new. It might as well just be a new game. But then, of course, you could make the argument, well, if you're doing that, why not just call it something else? I mean, I can see all sides of the argument, but to me, most importantly, the game needs to be good, because it doesn't. What does it matter if it's brand new and it sucks? Who cares? It fucking sucks. You know what I mean?
The thing is, it's worth picking up an established IP that people have heard of, purely because like it's just free marketing. Like if I, for example, you know Square Enix's Outriders game. Have you heard of it?
Yes, they have an event going on right now, and I've seen pictures of it. Yep.
If I say to you, what kind of game is Outriders? You don't know. Like what? All we know is like we've got the trailer. We don't know anything about what the game is or represents and stuff like that. But if I say Perfect Dark, you already have an idea that it's cyberpunk, espionage, stuff like that. It's basically like free marketing if they're using the same IP. Even if it's like a very different game, it can still sort of carry the same themes. And I think that's very powerful, that rather than starting over fresh. But it's like you say as well, the game actually has to be good.
Yeah. It was because I saw Kid Smooth said that he, like, one of his Tomb Raider reboot is one of his favorite series of this gen, and I love the Tomb Raider reboot. I love the 2013 reboot. I love Rise of the Tomb Raider. Didn't love Shadow of the Tomb Raider as much, but you know what? If that is like the kind of gritty style that they're willing to do with Joanna Dark for a new Perfect Dark, I'd be for it. I just don't care for Perfect Dark. I don't care for it. And you guys have been listening to the show for this long. Do I care for any Nintendo stuff? No. Do I care for any of like Rare's old Nintendo properties? No. How many times do I say Banjo? Get that shit out of my face. Or Conquer? Huh. Like I just don't care for any of the stuff that Rare used to do. And Perfect Dark falls into that. Like Perfect Dark Zero was garbage. I'm sorry, it was horrible. Right? I didn't play Perfect Dark on the 64. Sure, I enjoyed GoldenEye. But I'm not like, oh my god, Perfect Dark needs to come back. So, like, they would really need to sell that game. They would really have to have this, like, amazing trailer where it's like, okay, this is incredible. I don't care that it's Perfect Dark anymore. Like, just give me that game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, like, if they call it Perfect Dark and they've done it because they're just keeping the themes and the character, which was probably the most compelling things about it, I don't see the problem. But like, I just don't want it to be. I just worry about it being like Tomb Raider, just exactly the same as Tomb Raider, because like I said earlier, I can't stand the combat in that game. I think it's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there are people that don't like the new Tomb Raider. And Thanero says, think of the Perfect Dark reboot like the Ninja Gaiden reboot. And LMNOPO says, originally Perfect Dark was a spiritual successor to GoldenEye, including the multiplayer and weapons. That is true. I just...
There's potential there, just in the IP alone.
Sure.
And I think, like, sometimes it's... If they're going to make a Cyberpunk game with a female protagonist that has, like, the elements of Perfect Dark, they might as well just call it Perfect Dark for the free advertising.
Yeah, I wonder if it's...
Microsoft's bringing back Perfect Dark creates more curiosity than Microsoft's making a new IP about something random,
Well, some people would disagree with you on that. Some people would say the new IP would get
they can
people
disagree,
hyped.
but they'd be wrong.
Okay.
They'd be wrong.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, we're definitely going to see it this year. I think we see it at E3, 100%. I can't wait to see what it looks like. I can't wait to see what it is. Is it Perfect Dark? Is it something brand new? So I can't wait. What else we got here? So you want to talk about Xbox dying?
Yeah, sure. Why not? We do it every few months anyway.
So what happened with their financials, Jez? Why are people telling me it's dead? Why do I get people DMing me being like, yo, you need to jump off that ship, man. It's sinking. It's down 40%, down 20%. It's dying. What's going on?
Well, I actually haven't read the full financial report, but from what I understand from what my team wrote, is that the revenue is down by a huge amount because it's the end of the gen. Nobody's buying any consoles because they're waiting for the next Xboxes. They're spending the money on Nintendo Switch as companion devices, as we talked about earlier, and also because the Switch is just killing it and offers differentiation where Xbox and PlayStation aren't right now. And it's just the end of the gen. It happens every time we come towards the end of the gen. And also they said, if I remember right, they said they blamed the decrease in interest in some third-party service games, i.e. Fortnite.
Yeah, Fortnite's declining.
Yeah, and Fortnite's decline is roughly in line with Mixer's decline, Twitch's decline, a decline of various other industries, actually. Like the headset market has got shrunk because of Fortnite shrinking. Like, people, you don't realize how big Fortnite has been. It was absolutely massive. Like, it was like the sole driver of like creating so many businesses, and because of just how huge it was. And the fact that it's on decline now is being felt across the whole industry, like not just games and platforms, but also like accessories and streaming platforms and stuff like that. People are like losing interest, waiting for the next big thing, stuff like that. I don't know. But it is what it is. Xbox is not dying. It's just the end of the gen. But they did say that sales from subscriptions are up by like 40%, which is, pretty good, right?
Well, so I mean, there was some other like, so yeah, like I think the hardware revenue was down 43% because they sold less hardware at a lower price. So basically, what they said is that we didn't sell as much hardware as we did last year in the same comparable time frame, and the hardware we did sell, we sold it for cheaper. So that's why the revenue's down. I think they said like game spending was down because of that one title. Now, it could be a combination of Fortnite as well as like Red Dead Redemption 2, which sold a shit ton in the previous comparable quarter. And then later on in the like financial call, Satya said, well, we hit the most ever like monthly active users for Xbox Live, but of course they don't give the number. It's like, great. And that Xbox Game Pass had doubled just that quarter, because it, like Phil was saying, it doubled the year and then it doubled that quarter. So they said the subscriptions increase helped offset some of the decrease in Fortnite, but they actually beat estimates regarding Xbox. That's the thing people don't know, is they give guidance for what they feel or what they think Xbox is going to do. So 3 months ago, they said Xbox would decline 25%. It actually declined like 21%, so they actually beat their estimates. So now keep this in mind, when in 3 months Xbox declines again, and the same people are saying the same shit, because they're saying that Xbox is going to decline low double digits for next fiscal report. So they're already, I mean, they're like, yeah, it's going to go down again for. And the thing is, like you said, end of the gen, they're selling less hardware, they're selling it for cheaper, all that stuff. If it's like this in 2 to 3 years from now, where it's just declining, then there's a problem. Because
like a quarter over quarter decline ain't a big deal. It's when it's like multiple year over year declines, then we got an issue.
Well, no, so like next generation starts, right? Like because this time frame that they're comparing is I think November, December, or September, no, October, November, and December, right? So they're quarter 2. Now, I literally a year from now, they're going to be reporting that period, which is going to have the release of Xbox Series X and all the new games and stuff. If that quarter to quarter comparison is down, there might be some problems, Jazz. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. But it's Microsoft's putting a lot of investment in this streaming stuff, and they are starting to see some success. Like, apparently, Korean users spend twice as much time on XCloud than testers in the West. Like, I don't know what it is, but like, there's something about the culture there that they just prefer to game on phones than consoles or on TV or whatever. It's just the way it is there. So like, one of my colleagues wrote an article recently saying like, this could be how Xbox finally cracks the Asian market. And because like it's all the same platform, if you're making a game for xCloud, you're also making it for consoles anyway. This could like have like a knock-on effect for consoles though. So there is disruption coming to the platform. And they are investing heavily in things like Mixer, and they have invested
which they
heavily
shouldn't. Did you see that article from Kotaku where Ninja got $20 million a year for 3 years?
Yeah, that wasn't.
I'm sorry. Like, I know we got people from Xbox listening to this podcast, right? And I know you got to do what you got to do, and Mixer has its own things. I mean, I get it. Like, it's probably whatever. It's $20 million a year. It's chump change to Microsoft, right?
The thing is, I'm not willing to say that figure's accurate because I've been told it ain't.
According to Kotaku, let's just say, according to Kotaku and their sources, they gave Ninja roughly about $20 million a year.
Well, originally it was Ninja's own talent company that leaked that figure. They said it was between 20 and 30 million or something. And then Kotaku did some investigating and said that Microsoft outbid a bid from, was it Facebook?
Yeah, they said that Facebook and Mixer were bidding on it, yeah.
Yeah, that offered him around that figure. But like, I've heard that it's not that figure. I don't know. But even if let's just say, for example, that it is true. And it probably is around that figure, even if that figure isn't exactly accurate. You can argue that they could have put that money into games and stuff like that. But we've got to presume about what the future looks like for gaming. And that future looks like streaming is going to be playing an increasingly important role in the discovery of games. So like, when you've got Google allowing you to jump from a YouTube video straight into a game via Stadia, theoretically, if it isn't dead. Let's assume that Stadia actually doesn't die. Then that's a problem for Microsoft, because Microsoft, they won't have that sort of discovery platform that Google and Amazon has, because Amazon can off-ramp from its store. Google can off-ramp. Amazon can off-ramp to Twitch from Amazon.com. Google can off-ramp to Stadia from YouTube, and Microsoft has nothing in that space.
Well, neither does Sony. But you think that's in this scenario, it would also impact Sony.
We're not talking about Sony though, because Sony's got its console.
True.
And Sony isn't really putting the same level of investment into this space as Microsoft is. And anyway, I'm talking about Microsoft's point of view on this, from the point of view of someone who wants to take on Google and Amazon. Like, they don't want to take on Sony in streaming. They want to provide Sony with the tech to do streaming. But like, when it comes to cloud, they're competing with Amazon. They're not competing with Sony's cloud. They're competing with Amazon and Google's cloud. And if like if they'd rather do business with Sony on that than compete with them. So that's a entirely separate issue. But the Mix is important as a discovery engine because Google and Amazon will shut Xbox out of the whole equation by having their own discovery platforms. That's the risk Microsoft is sort of mulling over when it comes to Mixer. They're thinking like, what if in the future we get shut out of these platforms? You know, that's a danger if streaming takes off. So
Well,
it is a
streaming
risk.
has took off, just not for Mixer. Are you
No,
talking game streaming?
I'm talking about cloud streaming, whatever. Like if it takes off and Microsoft doesn't have a discovery platform outside of like Windows, which no one's going to use for streaming anyway because they've got Steam, then that's an issue, and or at least a potential issue that Microsoft has to contend with. And it's like you said, 20 million is chump change for Microsoft. It's nothing. So if Facebook was bidding on for that as well, it goes to show like how much value people seem to put into Ninja. And you can argue that Ninja isn't bringing people to the platform, and I personally don't really think he is. I don't think Ninja really helps with viewer acquisition, but it did put Mixer on the map and make it a topic of conversation with like, you know, it made people think, oh, Microsoft's actually serious about this. So while I'm not sure I agree that it's a great decision, I kind of understand Microsoft's thought process on, you know what, we can't risk not doing this. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I get it. I get it from that point about, hey, Amazon's going to have their streaming thing. It's going to be tied into Twitch. Google is going to have the whole YouTube thing if they ever do it. I mean, it's the fact that it's not there now is unthinkable because the platform sorely needs it. So I get like So you're basically saying they're keeping Mixer alive from the simple fact that they might need it in a couple years. Here's my thing. I think no matter what they do, Mixer is just a black hole. It's just a money pit. It doesn't matter.
You might be right.
It doesn't matter. Totally It's not going to get any traction. Like you got the two biggest streamers in the world, Shroud and Ninja, to come over. Nothing changed. All that changed was you gave them some money. I honestly think that you're just shoveling money into a black hole, and you're just going to keep it alive because what ifs. And whatever. You're Microsoft. You can do what you want. You have the money to bankroll it. What if? But I just have no faith in Mixer. I look at Mixer and I'm just like, honestly, Microsoft should just pull the plug today. Pull the plug.
I don't think so. I think like after this year, things are going to look very different about Mixer's position in the ecosystem. When Microsoft starts linking it to Xcloud, when Microsoft starts linking it to Xbox Game Pass, similar to they do with Twitch, and you get like free perks on Mixer through Game Pass, that's inevitable. It's just obvious. It's a no-brainer. Like they haven't announced anything, but it's gonna happen. Like I bet money that that's gonna happen. I think like give it a year, and then if it's still not making sense after a year, then maybe then. But I think it's way too early to just write it off right now. And I also think it's way too risky to write it off right now because you're giving Amazon and YouTube complete free reign over what content creation for video games looks like. And more importantly, content discovery for video games. And that's what Microsoft really cares about. It's not giving Google and Amazon free reign to advertise games because that'll shut Xbox out of the platform.
If nobody's watching Mixer, then what does it matter?
Yeah, well, they've got like a year or two to pull it back.
We'll see. I mean, a year or two, we'll see how it is. I don't think it gets any better. I think Mixer and Twitch will decline because Fortnite's declining.
Well, that's another thing. People saying, "Oh, no one's watching Mixer; it's declining and stuff." But Mixer has grown massively year on year, and the declines are largely in line with what Twitch is seeing with the decline of Fortnite. It's not necessarily a sort of Mixer only thing that's seen more quarter over quarter declines.
Yeah. So, and the other bit of news, Switch. We kind of briefly mentioned it. They had their financial report as well. Pokemon, as Jez says, 16 million, which is ridiculous. You know, that what 2 months, 16 million copies or whatever it is. Jesus.
For game of the year,
Jesus, like my God,
sense, man.
16 million people don't even know what a good game is. Crazy. crazy. But it looks like they shipped more, or at least sold more than Xbox, which you knew it was coming at some point. The way the Switch stormed out of the gate, and the way the Xbox kind of floundered at the beginning. All the problems that it's had. Like Xbox will probably be a little bit over 50 million when it's all said and done. Which, when you think about what happened to Xbox this gen, I think that's a good turnaround for them. Like, obviously, you decline from 88 million to 50 million. Yeah, that's a big drop. But like, I think it could have been way worse.
The fact they managed to stay in the game at all is pretty impressive.
So, like, yeah, what do you know? Like, I think Switch sold more in 34 months than Xbox did in 73. I mean, That's what happens, man. Like, it's like, look at Nintendo. It's like GameCube didn't do very good. We dominated. Well, I don't say like it sold so well. It brought in new users, but then they all left, and the Wii U was this like one of the biggest disasters in gaming. But then they rebounded with the Switch, and now look, like it can be done. It's just that's why, like, when people say, well, Xbox has no chance to do good at all, or it's definitely going to do worse. It's like, you sure about that? Because I mean, both PlayStation and Switch have had their low points and then rebounded back, rebounded again. I mean, it's entirely possible that all they really need is like, hey, here are the games, here's some great services, great console, boom, you're back in the game. I mean, like it. I mean, it would say like Switch. What are you gonna say? Congratulations to Nintendo, they kill it. I mean, the Switch. If you're into that stuff, it's probably amazing. I'm personally not. I do have a Switch, but I barely ever turn it on. But I know people love it. I know people love the portability factor, and I think that's a big thing. But I mean, for me, it's either Xbox or PlayStation, Xbox and PlayStation. But yeah, man, it's actually incredible to see Nintendo turning around like that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I was someone who was saying the Switch was dumb when they announced it, and it was like this advert where people were like playing the Switch on a rooftop at a professional-looking party, and I was probably thinking, "Oh God, no one's gonna do that. That is ridiculous." But I actually did that at a conference in Florida. We all just plugged the Switch into a TV, handed the Joy-Cons out, and started playing Mario Kart. And it was just like, "Oh my God, Nintendo have literally proven me wrong." So. It's been awesome to see it turn it around, and I got like 250 hours in Pokemon for the Switch. I don't think I played any Xbox game that much this year, except for maybe Monster Hunter World, which ain't exclusive either. Yeah. So,
and they also announced, they basically said that they're not releasing a new console in 2020. So all the rumors about the Switch Pro, Nintendo says nope, not doing it.
They don't need to do it right now.
No, I think they'll do one in 2021 though.
Yeah, I think like there's a lot of potential with that chipset, because it is quite impressive how much quality you can get out of such a small device. Because honestly, when you take the Joy-Cons off, it is really small. It's hardly that much bigger than like a Galaxy Note. So I don't know. I like the Switch a lot. So and I'm looking forward to Animal Crossing, which comes out in March, I think.
Right.
You're gonna get that? You're gonna get that Animal Crossing?
No. I'm not getting Animal Crossing. God, look. Like the only thing I want from Nintendo. The only thing I want from Nintendo is I want to get Astral Chain because it looks cool. I do like Platinum a lot. I'll probably be getting the Vanquish Bayonetta bundle. Platinum is a great developer. I want Metroid Prime 4 because I am a fan of Metroid. So I'll definitely get Metroid Prime 4. I mean, I need to play Legend of Zelda at some point, the Breath of the Wild, maybe to get hyped for Breath of the Wild 2. But like I've said before, like, man, I just don't have I didn't grow up with Nintendo in the way that, I mean, sure, Nintendo was like, I had an NES and it was amazing, but I didn't have a Super Nintendo and I didn't have a Nintendo 64. Even though I played one at my buddy's house. So it was basically the NES to the GameCube. So like, I just don't have that kind of nostalgia for Nintendo's franchises. So,
I only have nostalgia for Pokemon really, and a bit from Super Metroid. Like I played Super Metroid to death when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I'm desperate for them to announce bloody Metroid Prime. I'm absolutely desperate for that.
What else we got here? You want to kind of just briefly just tell people that this Superman exclusive that's supposedly coming to Xbox ain't real?
What's Superman exclusive?
I don't know. Some insider dude was like, Rocksteady's making an exclusive game for Xbox Series X and it's Superman or some shit.
No.
Yeah, it ain't happening. Don't get your hopes up on that. Rocksteady. Oh, man, you know these dudes coming out with all the every single day, like dudes on Reset Era, dudes on NeoGAF coming up with all this bullshit, right? Because all these websites run with it because it gets clicks, because people are incredibly thirsty for any PS5 or Xbox Series X stuff, right?
It's true.
So,
like, people are super thirsty for news, and there hasn't really been it.
No, there hasn't been any, and if Sony doesn't announce any release date information or press reveal information for the PS5, they're going to be even more thirstier and going even more crazy and come up with like, February 5th was wrong. Well, guess what? I just heard that there's going to be a press reveal on March 15th, and here's what they're going to show. Like, it'll just be that, and then the freaking people... The websites will report on that, even though they're reporting from the same people who were just wrong. It's like a never-ending cycle, and it constantly just gets clicks, man. Constantly gets clicks. Because people want to know. People want to know. So it's like, yeah, and people had hit me up like, what about the Superman game? Wouldn't that be cool, Rand? Like, yeah, it would be. Fuck yeah, Superman game by Rocksteady? You're goddamn right, that would be amazing. However, that's never going to happen.
Superman is the lamest superhero.
No. I beg to differ.
Let's just be honest. Superman sucks. No one wants a Superman game.
Why do you gotta hurt me like this? I mean, I would agree with you in the sense that a Superman
totally overpowered, man.
A Superman game would be incredibly hard to do right. He's not like Batman where he's a human and you can damage. Like, I get that. Coming up with a good Superman game,
enemies would have to have kryptonite guns or something.
Yeah, you'd have to depower him and get like sure.
I'm on record.
But Rocksteady,
terrible.
Rocksteady's a great dev, so when people see that, they're like, "Oh my god!" And this could be a huge exclusive to Xbox. It's like, they ain't happening, man. Like, it's not happening. Like, and I like sometimes when I say all that stuff, it's not because I want to piss off the Xbox fans. It's like, listen. It's great to dream big. It's great to hope. You know, like, oh man, well, I love what Nintendo... I hope Nintendo does this, or hope PlayStation does this, or Xbox. It's like... But some of these things are just completely, like, unrealistic. It's like, bring your expectations down to reality. Gotta think for a minute. Is Rocksteady really going to do an Xbox Series X exclusive? Of course not. Warner Brothers isn't going to do that. Like, Rocksteady's besides the fact that Jason Schreier said it's not happening and all that stuff, like, forget, like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And it wouldn't make any sense for Microsoft, even if they wanted to pay for the entire development of it. Because, I mean, what's Rocksteady been working on for the past 5 years? They haven't released a game. You know what I mean? As much as I would love to see it to be happen, it's not happening.
God, it is super weird. Like, seriously, what has Rocksteady been doing?
I was told they pitched Superman. Warner Brothers turned it down. They pitched Justice League. Warner Brothers turned them down. And whatever game they're making now was the one that Warner Brothers, greenlit. So I don't know. It's sad that we got one game from Rocksteady this whole gen. One freaking game, because I don't think whatever their new game is, I don't think it's going to be announced and come out this year. So I think whatever new game it is, it'll be coming out in 2021 or 2022. Like, and that's just sad to me. It's sad that from one of the best developers out there, we got one freaking game.
They should make a game, another Batman game, probably.
Well, I mean, maybe Warner Brothers Montreal is supposedly making a Batman game. So, Batman Court Owls.
Or like the Nightfall arc where Azrael becomes Batman for a while, but he's like a psycho Batman. I like that. Did you ever read that, Nightfall?
The one where is that the one where Bane broke his back?
Yeah, that's the one where Bane broke his back.
Yeah,
that's my favorite arc for Batman.
Yeah, no, I know about it. I've never read it though. Let's see what else.
I also like the Batman comic where Batman stamps on Superman's face and puts him in his place.
Oh, like what? Was that?
That's
Dark Knight Returns? Yeah. It's too bad when they did that for Batman versus Superman, Zack Snyder completely made a horrible movie. You know?
Hashtag release the Snyder cut.
Yeah, it released a Snyder. It's like, dude, the guy makes bad movies.
Oh man, come on! I really love Watchmen, and I love 300.
No, okay,
as well.
Watchmen director's cut's really good. 300's great.
Love that movie.
300's great, but dude, like Batman versus Superman, awful.
But
Absolutely
you need the Snyder cut, man. You need the Snyder cut.
Yeah, sure.
Release the
You
Snyder
want to talk about a guy who's style over substance? This is Zack Snyder. You know?
Oh man,
even though I like Man of
don't agree
Steel,
with
it's like, come on, dude. Like, he's all just the visuals and everything over like any sort of narrative substance or characters. Like, ugh. I
absolutely love the Watchmen movie. Like, I'm a fan of the comic too, and like a lot of people who love the comic are like, "Oh, I don't like the movie." But it's kind of like, well, you have to cut some things, otherwise it's going to be a 10-hour long movie.
Right.
But I don't know. I like Zack Snyder. Release the Snyder cut. Hashtag.
Release the Snyder cut. So we got somebody rejoined. So one of the things that you could say Xbox hasn't done well this gen is maybe marketing. Jez,
yeah. I don't know, man. That Heilung the Heilung trailer for Hellblade 2 was just blew my mind.
Yeah,
I think that
really
might
good.
be my favorite. That might be my favorite game trailer of all time.
So
I've watched it like 50,000 times.
So Jarrett West, who used to be at Xbox as the marketing head during the 360 era, who left to go work at Netflix, he rejoined Xbox as chief marketing officer. So we looking about to is Xbox about to put out some amazing stuff for the upcoming Series X and beyond, Jez? Because I hope so, because he was in charge of that stuff when they did the Gears of War trailer, when they did the Mass Effect trailer,
was him?
He was in charge of the marketing back then, yeah.
Oh snap, shows what I know.
So it's like, I think when I think of like great game trailers, a lot of those ones were from like the early 360, like that original Mass Effect trailer, the Gears of War trailer, the Gears of War 2 trailer, and stuff like that. So like, yeah, like I don't know. I think him rejoining, which I really did like that Xbox Series X ad, where it's like the trailer, like it's a monolith above the water. I really liked.
Yeah,
I really liked. I thought that was cool. I mean, there are some images that look very similar to like some indie, like some other like independent guy. Like they look kind of very similar, but I don't know. I thought it looked.
Microsoft kind of like they've gotten a lot better at product trailers. Like if you go back and watch, I did an article actually for end of year that was something like the weirdest, wackiest, and most wonderful Microsoft commercials of the last decade. And like I went back and I looked at the first Surface trailer. If you want to laugh, go and watch the first Surface trailer for the very first Surface. It's really awful. It's just like a bunch of like kids and teenagers and people in a suit dancing around, and it doesn't tell you anything about the product or what it is or what it does. It's just a bunch of people dancing around with the Surface, and it's like, what is this? What is this trailer? It's terrible. But now, like, if you watch like the more modern Surface trailers, they're a lot better. So Microsoft's gotten better at that stuff. It's the same with the first Xbox One trailer. It was pretty bad compared to what they're doing now.
Yeah. And what was the other thing? I saw Brad Sam's tweet today that he had heard a while back that Microsoft was close to acquiring Platinum. I don't know if you saw his tweet. And the reason I bring that up is because Phil recently went to his trip to Japan. And, he tweeted out that he was there. And, of course, like people are like, oh, nothing ever happens when he goes to Japan. It's like, you sure about that? You sure? I mean, I don't know. Like,
Microsoft was close or is close?
No, was. This is like it was a Brad Sam's tweet today that I saw where it was. I think he was responding to Z Huge, because I think Tencent has like a big investment in Platinum Games now.
All right.
Brad Sam's replied saying that like he had heard maybe like a year ago or like 2 years ago that they were like close to acquiring Platinum. Or they were in deep negotiations, and obviously he fell through. And the reason I bring it up because like Phil was in Japan, he's tweeting is like, "Hey, I'm here meeting with some stuff," and he's been very vocal about wanting a Japanese studio. Do you think that happens this year, Jez?
I don't know if it happens this year. I think what the meetings might have more likely been is something similar to what they've done in South Korea, which is do a deal with a telecoms company for xCloud, extra bandwidth lanes, for xCloud over their network. I think it might be something more in line with that, because obviously they've already seen a huge amount of success in South Korea with the xCloud trials, and they probably want to replicate that in Japan as soon as possible. So even if it's not a studio acquisition, it's probably something more in line with that, like a telecoms thing. I don't know. I'd like to think it's a game studio, but I also just think like Microsoft's such a Anglo-centric company, and their Japanese operation is really tiny. Like the amount of people, staff they've got in Japan is like, it's depressingly small. So I don't know if like they're actually really that serious about getting someone from Japan into the team, which I know is going to be disappointing for some people to hear. And I could very well be wrong. Like sometimes I'm just negative about these things, and I just can't see it right now. Can you see it? Can you see them picking up a Japanese studio this year? I can't, personally.
That is a tough question. I do see them getting a studio. The question is what studio it is, or if it's a Japanese. There's a lot of red tape when it comes to acquiring Japanese companies.
No more than there is any other company. Like that whole thing like is a myth about like, oh, Japan would never sell a company to the West. That's like a total myth.
Oh, okay. So I mean, I think they get one. I don't know. I mean, like, could it be the Japanese studio? I would not be surprised if it was. But usually,
what if they buy Kojima Productions?
Kojima, huh? Well, a lot of Xbox fans would have to suddenly go back on what they said about Kojima and his games, because there's a lot of slander regarding Kojima. But then again,
you were right, by the way. I never did get past chapter 3.
A lot of people get stuck up there. I mean, but it's the same thing. Like a lot of Xbox fans, obviously not the ones listening to this show, of course, but when Hellblade wasn't exclusive, and they were obviously like, "Oh, just a stupid walking simulator," like Ninja Theory doesn't. And then when Microsoft bought Ninja Theory, those same people were like, "This is amazing." It's like you were just shitting on Ninja Theory and Hellblade when it was a PlayStation exclusive. Now Xbox buys them, and then they're the greatest thing. You guys are like, some of you guys are just so freaking transparent, So, and it's like, am I the only one that sees that? Like, I don't know. Like, I must be, because, and it would be the same thing. Kojima, if like they bought Kojima or big Kojima Productions, suddenly a lot of people who were trashing him would be like, "Oh my God, Kojima, you're amazing! I love your games now," and stuff. It would be so obvious. It would be. I almost want it to happen just so people could post like, "Oh, this is what you said about him 6 months ago. Oh, now look what you're saying about him."
At least I've been consistent about my love for Kojima.
We have the Ravenflow with the super chat. He says the Xbox problem with the Japanese isn't about being Western centric. Blizzard is unapologetic Western centric, and their games sell well in Asia.
I'm not talking about selling well. I'm just talking about like marketing well and having a presence and stuff like that. Sometimes like Microsoft just doesn't really try. Even if they've got games that could sell in Japan or the East, they just don't even really try, because they don't have to try, because they're Microsoft and they've got $1 bajillion million. It's not as such a desperate urge. There's no sense of desperation or urgency when it comes to some of this stuff, I feel like. I don't know. Like the fact that like they can't even get localization right in European countries just says to me, it just speaks of a lack of urgency to me. And it's frustrating, But whatever. What do I know?
Yeah, so we're about approaching the 2-hour mark, so I figured we'll probably end it there for today. If anybody has any questions, make sure you drop them in chat. Me and Jez will answer them. If you got anything you want us to answer, we will do our best. Let us know what you think about the gameplay that we added to the show. If you like it, if you're listening to this later on Google Play or SoundCloud or iTunes, we appreciate you. And if you don't want to hang around, if you want to leave, obviously, it's up to you. But if you could hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow me and Jez on Twitter. Links are in the description. Maka says, "Hey, did you hear Xbox acquired From Software?" Yeah, that would definitely anger some people. It's funny when Phil was in Japan, he was playing Sekiro every night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Sekiro is... Look, I like Phil a lot, right? I played with him quite a bit. Sekiro's a little bit above Phil's skill level. Let me just say. Let me just be pretty frank. But then Sekiro's above a lot of people's skill level. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna tell Phil you said that.
I'm not like Phil. Don't you dare say that. But it's a little bit above. It's a tad bit above Phil's skill level.
Someone listening to the show is gonna rat you out.
Yeah, I know, right?
Honestly, it's above my skill level. Like I killed I don't think I even got to a boss yet. I just you know what? I don't know if I want to wipe on this game anymore.
So he's like, hey, Phil's playing Sekiro and he's playing it multiple times. I wonder how many times he's died. He's probably just stopped playing it. And I was thinking, well, maybe he was meeting with From Software and he wanted to say he played their game. You know what I mean? Yeah, I played your game. I died 100 times, but I still played it, right?
Well, I've got reason to believe there's a good reason for him to be meeting From Software at the moment.
Oh, what could it be?
Don't they have marketing rights for Elden Ring?
So you think he got to play Elden Ring? You think that was a?
But they have marketing rights, don't they? Is that announced?
I believe so. I believe they do have marketing rights for that game. So.
Well,
or Sekiro might come to Game Pass. Maybe that's why he's playing it. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe.
It's just interesting.
Either way, Activision owns that stuff, right?
Activision is publishing Sekiro, yes.
Do they own it?
Do they own the IP? I'm not 100% sure on that. They might. They might not. I don't know. Let's see if we got any questions. So Anthony says, what's your guys' opinion on Sony buying Remedy? Well, I mean, it hasn't happened yet. There's that rumor that, Sony bought Remedy months ago. And it's they have a handshake agreement with all the employees because when you look at the breakdown of Remedy stock and who it's owned by, it's 51% of it's owned by the employees. So they have a handshake agreement with all the employees, and on a certain day, all the employees will sell their stock to Sony, and Sony will then own 51% of Remedy. And it's you believe that, you should go buy some Remedy stock. Because that's about to skyrocket in price if Sony's about to... Then there was a rumor yesterday that they were going to buy them, announce it tonight because Sam Lake was in New York and there was a private event at a Sony theater in New York and all this stuff. And it's people are just so thirsty for any sort of news because PlayStation's being super quiet. But here's what I expect from Remedy. I expect their next game probably to be PS5 exclusive. And if that goes well, I could see them potentially buying Remedy. I could see that happening.
I think they probably wouldn't buy based on the sales of the last few games, because even though Control won awards and stuff like that, and a lot of people like it, nobody bought it. And it is what it is. The 505 is not the biggest publisher out there. They don't have the biggest operation to market a game. So there's that aspect of it, and also new IP is hard. No IP of single player action games is really even harder. So it's to be expected kind of thing. But at the same time, that kind of content is perfect for PlayStation Now. It's perfect for Xbox, Xcloud and stuff like that. Would Remedy work with Microsoft again after all the Quantum Break drama?
I mean, they are doing the single player for Crossfire.
Isn't that more of a deal with Nexon though?
Yeah, but I heard Microsoft wanted them to do it. It was I don't know. This is just something I had heard. Maybe we'll talk about it after the show. But Ravenflow says in Super Chat, as always, thank you for your time.
I have to say before you say, whenever you say Ravenflow, I always think of the song Even Flow.
I always think of Raven. I think of Raven's. Wasn't that called the Ravenflow? His DDT move, his finishing move. In WCW?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was.
Who was that now? So it was Tommy Dreamer?
No, it wasn't. It was Raven, wasn't it? Pretty sure it was Raven.
Oh god, I can't remember.
Face wants to know, Random Jez, do you think the upcoming gen will be the last of the consoles? No. I think there's this gen coming up and then another one after that. And then who knows?
I think
Because
there might even be another one after that, because ultimately it depends on if global internet wireless infrastructure can really provide the kind of native experience you want. Like, as good as Xcloud is, it still doesn't feel as good as just playing something on my Switch. It doesn't feel as responsive. There's that sort of uncanny valley, and the fact that you have to still adjust to it. And having like the native hardware is going to progress faster than streaming technology can progress.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I think there's going to be at least a few more gens. I don't think like it's going to suddenly stop. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, I agree. I think there's at least two. This upcoming one and the one after that. See, a Geek wants to know, what superhero games do you want next gen? Well, personally, I want Spider-Man 2 from Insomniac. I want a new Batman game, which I think we're going to get. But like something new, God, like I don't even know. Maybe I mean, a really cool, like Rod Ferguson always teases like a Captain America game. You know, obviously, you know, the Coalition's never going to make something like that, but a Captain America game has been made, and it was decent. So I could imagine, like, actual...
Captain America wouldn't sell outside
probably.
of
I don't know.
Who cares about Captain
Black
America?
Panther
What about
game
Captain
could
Britain?
be cool. You know, something like...
Is there a Captain Britain?
There's a lot of cool superhero stuff that you can do. Maybe like a game based on the Boys TV show, where you're like an evil...
A Rorschach game.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's a bunch, but definitely
really
Spider-Man 2 is on the top of my list. See what other questions we got here. Elemenopino says, GDC Forza 8 ray tracing talk excited. Forza 8 Forza Motorsport does not excite me. I'm sorry. Doesn't matter what they're talking about with Motorsport. I just don't care. Simulation racing is not my thing. So I'd
like it if it was like a full blown simulator where you had to like eat and you had to have a shower like Death Stranding, and you have to manage survival stuff. I'm sorry, I'm just cracking up. What if there was a Mad Max Forza game? We have to like scavenge parts for your car and stuff. I'd play that.
You play that? Okay. Y9 Power says, hey, do you enjoy the Artifix Mundi games like Grim Legends, Nightmares from the Deep? I mean, I used to play those, but they're all basically the same, and there's so many of them on the console now. It's kind of like, I don't know, like there's like 30 or 40 of them. But I mean, they are I mean, if you just play one, I mean, they are enjoyable, but man, there's just too many. Mario wants to know, hey, Rand, Chiefs or 49ers? We got the Super Bowl this weekend, Jez. Chiefs, 49ers, who you got? Patrick Mahomes.
I don't know who they are.
You don't know about American football.
Which one? I know Tom Brady is because of South Park.
Tom Brady's not there because his team lost. So
what's the Seattle team called? The
Seattle Seahawks.
The Seahawks. I support the Seahawks.
So I want the Chiefs to win because I like Patrick Mahomes, but they are going up against the Niners, and that's Zalker's team. And yeah, I would love for the 49ers to lose because it would crush Zalker. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Somebody can tell that to Zalker. I'll tell that to him.
Hang on. If it's the Super Bowl, isn't that when they do all the weird adverts and stuff?
Yes, that's when the new adverts come out. Yep.
Hang on. I thought the Super Bowl was in the summer.
No. Super Bowl's always in like February. First week of February.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like it was last summer for some reason. Is there some other sporting thing like the Super Bowl in the summer?
I mean, you got Super Bowl for football in February. You have the NBA Finals and the NHL Finals are in the summer. You have the World Series, which is in the fall for baseball.
Oh, maybe I'm mixing up with the World Series then.
Yeah. Face wants to know, do you think Rocksteady going to announce something since they just released a DLC skin 5 years after Arkham Knight came out? I would say they're probably getting very close to announcing whatever game they're working on. I mean, it's been long enough. And if PlayStation's going to have an event and Xbox is having an event, I would not put it past them to be at one of those to announce whatever game it is. But then again, supposedly there's also the Batman Court of Owls game, so maybe they aren't going to announce Rocksteady's game this year because they don't want anything to kind of compete with the Batman game, which is supposed to come out this year. So we'll have to wait and see. Axel wants to know.
Is it confirmed that they're working with Warner Brothers? Sorry,
they're owned by Warner Brothers.
what, Rocksteady is?
Rocksteady got bought by Warner Brothers after the first Batman game.
Oh God, I didn't know that. I thought they were independent.
No, they were, and then they did the Batman Arkham Asylum, and it did so well that Warner Brothers bought them.
Oh wow, shows what I know.
Axel wants to know, Rand and Jazz as fans of his work, is it hard to accept that Kojima is washed?
Is what?
Washed, I mean like over the hill, like he's no longer any good, that type of stuff.
I don't know, man. I was enjoying Death Stranding, but I don't know. Something happened in Chapter 3, and I just got like, man, I can't be bothered anymore.
That's what happens, man. I tell you, people get to Chapter 3, and that's where you either like want to finish playing the game, or you're just like, you know. We'll have to wait and see.
It though. I don't get it. I was enjoying it. Like, there's nothing that happened in Chapter 3 that just sort of like.
Well, obviously something happened
like
because you stopped playing it.
I just like got bored, I think.
Dear Honor wants to know, is it worth it to buy Xbox One in 2020?
It's funny you ask that, because I literally wrote an article about that this week.
Oh, has it come out yet?
I don't know. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. It's in the duty editor pipeline either way. I think it might be coming out today, actually. But basically, I argued that kind of is, because you can just either get it on Xbox All Access, which comes with an upgrade anyway, and it's like basically at no extra cost if you were going to buy one anyway. So, and also you can just trade it in or trade it up. So if you want to get into the ecosystem now, you might as well, because you're not really losing anything. You get like a whole year of playing games. But other people would say just wait. But personally, I just think like you don't lose anything. You don't gain anything by waiting, really.
I would say it depends on the price you're getting the system for and what your plans are with it. Like
if you've already got a PlayStation, there's no point.
I would say if you want to get the X, but the X is $500, I'd say wait. Just spend the $500 on Series X at the end of the year. If you are getting the S for $200, I'd say okay, cool. Then you can probably get Game Pass and try out a whole bunch of stuff. But I mean, we are 10 months away from new consoles. I mean, it really, like I said, it really depends on what your goal is, how many games you're going to play, and what system you want. So, and what the price you can get it at. Mark wants to know, Rand, do you think there will be a new Killer Instinct or third-party Microsoft game releasing with Series X at launch? I do not think there'll be a new Killer Instinct at launch.
Nope.
A third-party Microsoft game. So that would basically mean like from a studio they don't own. Would Microsoft Flight Sim be considered that? Because here's the thing: Halo Infinite's going to take a lot of the. It's going to be so huge it might engulf everything. So Microsoft is if there is a game, it's of a smaller nature. Because I think everything's going to be overshadowed by Halo.
Well, you've got that Don't Know game, right?
Well, that's coming out in the summer.
All right, okay.
So I mean, it could be Halo, Forza Motorsport 8, maybe the console port of Gears Tactics, maybe the console port of Flight Sim, maybe one kind of Xbox global publishing game that we don't know about. I can't see there being too many exclusives because it just doesn't really make sense for Microsoft to do that in the way it does for Sony. But, you know, I'd love to be wrong. I mean, I hope there's a lot of whole new games.
That marketing guy who came back, he was at Netflix, right?
Yes.
Well, the whole deal with Netflix is that their content comes in waves because it's like to keep people subscribed. And that sort of experience is invaluable if what you're doing is marketing Game Pass, right? Like if you notice the way they handle Game Pass socials, it's very similar to Netflix's socials. So having a game for every month is probably what their goal is. You know, like having some sort of big game. I don't know.
Yeah.
if that's sustainable. But
Anyways, I think that'll be it for the questions part, which means we're gonna end the show. So, want to thank you all for being here. Anybody that dropped a super chat, anybody that commented, let me and Jez know if you enjoyed the gameplay, whether on Twitter. If you're listening to this later on Google Play or iTunes, Spotify, we appreciate it as well. Jez will get that up as soon as I get the file to him. We've been trying to do that much more quickly recently. So if you guys enjoyed the show, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Follow me and Jez on Twitter so you know exactly when this podcast comes. And now that we have the tech issues sorted out, we'll have the show will be good to go. We'll have the gameplay up for the games that are, basically coming out that week or whatever I played.
and finally, if you want to join a Discord server where we chat about games, positive community, talking about Xbox or any platform really, hit me up on Twitter and DM, and we can invite you.
Yes. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the day, and we'll see you next week for another Xbox 2 podcast. So enjoy gaming, guys. See you later.